Good morning, Flatwoods. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you today. We're here today to talk about one of those taboo subjects, things that we don't talk about. And one of the things we don't talk about is alcohol. What exactly is alcohol? When we say alcohol, we're talking about a chemical called ethanol. Ethanol is a psychoactive drug. Ethanol is used as a solvent, an antiseptic. You can burn it in camp stoves, and as most of you know, you can either get your gasoline with it or without it. It can burn for combustion in many ways. It's chemically classified as a poison. All forms of alcohol, whether in beer, wine, or distilled liquor, come from the product of yeast and sugar. No yeast, no ethanol. Yeast take sugar and they form ethanol, water, and carbon dioxide. Yeast do this in their natural setting so that they can defend themselves against other microorganisms that compete for food in their environment. They take in sugar and water, and they secrete ethanol as a waste product, as a poison against their enemies. Man harnessed this process thousands of years ago in a process we call fermentation. What happens when you ingest ethanol? Well, whatever the liquor source, the ethanol is absorbed very quickly, approximately 20%, immediately from the stomach. 80% is absorbed from the small intestine over a period of minutes to hours. Now, this process is sped up or slowed down depending on how much food you have in your stomach and how quickly those products are absorbed. An empty stomach means more rapid absorption. The target organ for all ethanol ingestion is the brain, primarily the emotional centers of the brain. There are some unintended consequences on the brain and the body, but people don't drink for the effect on most of the brain. They drink because they want to either feel relaxed or disinhibited or more socially calm, or because they have anxiety or want to feel less depressed or not to think about their problems. Also, people may want a decreased sense of pain or a decreased awareness of emotional pain. The unintended consequences, though, are on the part of our brain on the outside called the cortex, and that's the part of our brain with which we have judgment, planning, decisions. Also, the cerebellum, where we have coordination of our speech, our movements. Also, our memory centers in the deeper parts of our brain, which is why when people drink, just like Proverbs says, there's decreased coordination, decreased memory, decreased ability to speak clearly, and problems with the higher functions of learning. Almost everyone knows or associates the liver with the effects of chronic alcohol abuse. Why is that? Because 95% of the alcohol that we take in, no matter if it's absorbed from the stomach or absorbed from the small intestine, has to be filtered through the liver. The liver has to take the ethanol, detoxify it, and turn it into chemicals that can be excreted. But this process is fraught with problems and with damage. The liver breaks down alcohol into two other toxic chemicals, acetaldehyde and acetic acid, which molecules you see here. And those are broken down with water and other substances in a way that can be excreted. The problem is that those are poisons, and they cause the liver to go through a process of inflammation, of genetic conversion, oxidative damage, fatty absorption, along with the pancreas going through a similar kind of process. The only marketable effect of ethanol is the effect that it has on the brain's emotional centers. One of the things that's not talked about is the genetic effect of alcohol. Not unlike cigarettes or high stress, when one drinks alcohol, especially if it's an attitude of trying to get relief or relaxation or less depression, alcohol induces our genes in our brain, our liver, and many other places in the body to begin to rotate around protein molecules that cause genes that are for cancer or inflammation or other diseases that never would have been expressed to suddenly be expressed. And what we're learning, this whole field, is called epigenetics. And it means that our behavior actually controls our genes, not vice versa. One of the most potent epigenetic damages that we see is from routine alcohol use. Now, some of you may be thinking, now wait a minute, Dr. Spann. I've heard about the studies that show that daily moderate wine ingestion of 1 or 2 glasses is beneficial for health. What you may not know is that over the last year or two, those studies have come into significant question, and that the social and health benefits of that lifestyle have more to do with the diet and the lifestyle of walking, of close family knit groups with multiple layers of grandparents living in the same place people's whole life, and that the alcohol itself actually has a chronic damaging effect on the body that's simply overcome by the other good parts of their lifestyle. And one of the effects that may not be as damaging to the body or to the life are the appearance effects that alcohol causes. And you're going to see some pictures that I put up of people that are famous or familiar, and you see what alcohol use on a regular basis does to their beauty. Alcohol causes an abnormal fat accumulation in the central parts of the body, away from the limbs, around every organ. And because of the decreased physical activity associated with alcohol abuse, the poor nutrition or decreased nutrition, in men the decreased testosterone, the loss of muscle mass, we see that the physical appearance of both men and women worsens. One of the greatest frauds in all of history, and one of the most painful to me, is how the alcohol industry uses advertisements to associate alcohol intake on a regular basis with beauty, poise, fitness, success, athleticism, wealth, sophistication, sexual satisfaction. Every one of which is damaged by regular alcohol use. None of those things are improved by regular alcohol use. Major brain developments occur in the brain of a young person between the ages of 16 and 26. And that's when most of the drinking starts and most of the brain damage that affects people for the rest of their life, their decision-making abilities, their neurological pathways, their planning, their self-control occur. Most of us know that children's brains still develop. Most of us suspect that people aren't really mature until they're about 26, but there's another side to that. We've now learned in the last 30 years that adults up until the age of 80 or 85 regenerate brain cells up to 30,000 cells a day, and that those who drink have a much increased chance of getting Alzheimer's disease, dementia, and other damaging illnesses of the brain because they don't regenerate those cells, because ethanol is a poison to brain cells. There's a lot of sad stories that I could tell you about with alcohol, but the saddest one is from a friend of mine. In my former practice, I had a dear friend who was a patient I cared for many years, and I was concerned about his soul. I took several opportunities to talk to him about Jesus, to befriend him, and at my last visit with him, I pleaded with him to accept Jesus as his Savior. He admitted that he was lost. He admitted he needed Jesus. He knew he was a sinner. He wanted to go to heaven. But he would not accept Jesus until a later day because he had fun left to have, he thought. And he wanted to drink, and he wanted to have social alcohol in his life on a regular basis, and was afraid if he made a commitment to Jesus that he wouldn't be able to drink anymore. He was worried about losing fun. My concern is that because of the love that he had for alcohol, and that so many have for the social drinking habit that they have, that they won't come to Jesus because they love this life so much.